When Justice League dropped and I was just sitting in the theater, I was like, it's fucking over. Like we've reduced down to we literally got on our knees and we're
It's over, man.
let's just try to become Marvel in it. It's like, no, you're not going to win by trying to become Marvel. You need to be different. And that's actually what worked. We may not have consistently in the beginning made as big of numbers as Marvel was doing, like, because it was viewed as basic. And granted, I get it. Batman v Superman should have been $1 billion movie. I get it, but it still made like $800 and some million. It made money. In the end of the day, it made money. But all anybody ever cared about was that it didn't make $1 billion. True, it should have. I get it. But it was just that everything pivoted from there. And then to the bad news.
Oh yeah.
The Flash, the box office numbers, despite it being what I thought a good movie.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm the DC shill, so whatever. The first domestic numbers I think was $55 million opening weekend. I think it was around 160 worldwide, so not very good at all.
The unmitigated disaster, they called it.
Yeah, and then the massive decline kept going as now The Flash is facing the biggest second weekend box office drop-off in DC history with a 72.5%, beating out the previous record of 71.5%, which was set by the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's Suicide Squad, during the height of the pandemic. So,
Saw a tweet about this where a guy was saying, I just don't get it about this movie. And people basically summed it up to, it's got to just be the general public just has an apathetic feeling towards a DCEU movie at this point.
I mean, I'm sure there's part of that.
It
because
it also doesn't help that half of our fan base on Twitter likes to just post leaked, like, still weird GIFs that are like very well timed to where the CGI doesn't look good, and they constantly just keep sharing it around social media. I'm sure that deters a lot of people from wanting to go because it's like, oh, this movie looks like shit. Which, granted, it doesn't. There are spots where it doesn't look great, but I don't think that deters a story from being.
I mean,
good
Marvel.
That's me.
Marvel has,
because I was about to say Marvel has plenty of those issues as well, and it doesn't bug me
and
as
more
much
recently
it shouldn't
too.
tank a movie either. I mean, like, come on.
Well, and Marvel's had those issues more recently too, and it's like, so why does the general public not bat an eye? And it's like they get to have the excuse of like, well, they're stretched too thin. Look at all this crap they're working on. It's like, well, these VFX studios are third party.
Yeah.
It's like they work for both companies. They work for all of them. It's not just we only work and are contracted with Disney. So it's maybe that's what needs to get through the heads of people is like these visual effects studios are like not just with one studio. I don't know.
Well, and what we just recently talked about with how, you know, all the issues with those production companies and the VFX companies that were so backed up and overloaded, and it's causing everything to get pushed back. You know, it also
right.
And it's all happening around the same time, and we're seeing a lot of the same issues in same movies. You know, poorly shot snippets that it's just blatantly obvious in your face.
Yeah,
but there shouldn't tank.
And again, the like we've said too with Flash is like the CGI was the way that it was, like on purpose. Like, okay, you don't like it, fine, whatever, but it doesn't ruin the movie.
Right. Right.
Like the movie's actually, like I said, I think it's very well done because of the how they writ the character progressions in it, and
yeah, I thought it was a great movie, but
yeah, people just don't care. So like, I don't know how you feel on it, Jay, but I just feel like it's majority of just the general public just has an apathetic feeling towards looking at it, and it doesn't help either that the other side of it too is like you've got people that were initially like me that know that since James Gunn is resetting the whole thing anyway, you probably have still that generic feeling of like, well, why do I really care to go spend money and see it? I can just wait because it's not going to matter anyway.
100%.
So
that's kind of what my thought was.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a portion of the audience that feels that way too. There's so many things. Like, I mean, of course, there was the controversy of when it like first started. Like it had mixed feelings even when this universe started with Snyder. I think some people have come around to like it more than they did in the past. You still got the haters, but then, then there was the fallout of Justice League and, Snyder fans being angry at Warner Brothers because of how they treated Snyder. Got a little bit of good faith back when we got the Snyder cut back, but then he's gone. Then we have the stuff with Henry Cavill coming back, announcing a video that he's back as Superman. Everyone being like, okay, there's a little light at the end of the tunnel. May not be the Snyderverse back, but we still have our Snyder characters coming back. And then 2 months later, it's announced that James Gunn's taking over. See you later, Henry Cavill. We're rebooting everything, which I think was a huge misstep in a way. As much as I was excited to hear what the future of DC was, I feel like it was a mistake in the long run because, a lot of people now are just like, well, what do I care about these movies? And like if you are a fan, you're like, my universe is ending, so I'm boycotting this shit. And if not, if you're just a general fan anyway, you're just like, well, if it's going to reboot, I'm not going to spend the money. I'll just wait until it streams, and then I'll watch it then, and then I'll get invested maybe when it's rebooted.
I mean, going to the movies is, well, I mean, I do go to IMAX, but it can't be that much more expensive. But it's already like it's just expensive. I mean, I'll admit on here because I really just don't care. I mean, whatever, that I go alone. And
but best way to go to the movies, honestly. If you really want to pay attention and be zoned into everything.
Yeah.
I used to do that shit all the time.
I go alone. So IMAX, my ticket is $15, and then if I want to drink and like nachos or popcorn, that's like another $10 or $15. I'm just like shit. Like I'm not even on a date, and just up $30 on myself then, and
you're paying
so
for two
I can
every time.
So it is kind of understandable when you have that mentality of like, I can wait.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it doesn't help either too with the whole I can wait crowd because look how fast Shazam got thrown onto Max.
Oh yeah.
So that's the other thing is people are probably like, oh well, fuck it, it'll probably tank and they'll just throw it up on streaming in a month anyway.
Dude, my dad, it's notorious for the when it comes out on like the in-home ticket and it's like $20.
Like
like when you go to stream it and it's like just right out of the
theaters. He's like notorious for just buying the digital only copy,
right? And or he waits until it gets down to that $5 mark. He keeps it in his favorites and waits until it becomes dirt cheap. And I think that's it. And I'm like, I mean, why not? But that's what people are doing now. They don't care about the cinematic experience as much as they used to.
No, they don't.
And that used to be a thing. Sitting down with your popcorn and your drink, and it was something, but not anymore.
So here's just kind of a sign of like probably as much as I love the Snyderverse, probably need a reboot. Let's just look at some numbers here. And this is just opening weekends. This isn't even like final box office numbers because it gets even worse. Opening weekends. The top 10 for the DCEU. Number 1, Batman v Superman, 166 million. Suicide Squad, the first one, 133.7 million. Man of Steel, 116.6 million. The first Wonder Woman, 103.3. Justice League, aka the Justice League, the bastard child, 93.8. Aquaman, 67.9, which eventually went on to make $1 billion. The only DCEU project to make $1 billion.
I would say they fucking China loved that movie.
Yeah, internationally that movie did work.
Yeah.
Black Adam, 67 million. The Flash, 55 million. Shazam, the first one, 53.5, and Birds of Prey, 33 million.
I don't even have a problem with Birds of Prey, but I will admit I always forget that exists.
The number 10 opening weekend for the MCU, 174.1 million, which is Iron Man 3. The top opening box office weekend for the DCEU doesn't even crack the top 10 for the MCU. And for complete like finished box office worldwide, Aquaman was our top one. It was the only one to go over $1 billion, and it barely cracks the top 10 of MCU at number 9.
When you're
if it was an MCU film, it would be number 9 in their total box office top 10
for global market.
For global market, yeah.
Damn,
they're worldwide.
Ouch.
People love Marvel.
They do.
Okay. do people love Marvel because it took them so goddamn long to get a good product on the big screen? Batman and Superman have been around and on your television set and in movie theaters since like the 1940s, 50s, whatever. I mean, Christ, you see the scene in Flash where they're referencing it, the black and white stuff. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's literally, they've been around forever. So is it that, one, it's Disney's marketing power, and it's two, just like I've said, people love it because it's a fresh approach into superhero movies, whereas decade after decade, you always had a Superman or Batman in the movie theater.
I think you're onto something with the Disney marketing power, definitely.
Oh,
obviously,
yeah.
That's a no-brainer. But I think people like solidarity, and they like streamline. They like to be able to know what's going on if they step in at any point in a movie and they've watched any other product in that storyline. They can kind of at least understand what's going on to a certain extent. DC, I don't think has that much. I mean, we have our Justice League movies where they get together
because they rushed it. I mean, they rushed it.
Right, but then some of these characters have multiple actors playing them, and I mean, from one movie to another. I mean, you have different storylines going on for every single different project, and then you have CW projects that are completely casted differently and completely different stories. The whole entirety of DC right now, if you just jump into it, like I remember we were talking about before, if you just jump into it, you got to watch a lot of shit to really understand any connections between them all outside of just the Justice League movies.
True. Ish, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think there's
and then they keep rebooting.
I mean, you definitely have to watch Man of Steel before you watch Batman vs Superman.
Well, and then they keep rebooting. Now we're gonna, there's a new universe, and then there's new creative process directors, and then they all come in and they have a different direction, and then they have different cast members, and then all the infighting, of course. That doesn't help.
But I get what you mean, especially when you say the comparison of the CW. Like, yeah, those are two different universes for them. Where Marvel did it, where it's like, no, still all the same one. Even the series that now, Disney has again, but that were on Netflix, like, it's understood those were in the same whole universe.
But talk to the casual. That's who they have to get watching these movies and these series is the casual. And until there's
that's
a unified
exactly
direction.
why they have, like you said, with this. That is exactly why they've rebooted, and they took from Disney who they wanted and got them on board to, like, all right, do that for us.
And then one of the biggest or the best superhero movies he's ever seen, somebody important has ever seen, somebody
James
important. It was James Gunn. and then they go, yes, the movie doesn't fucking matter. Blue Beetle, though. Who the fuck's Blue Beetle for a casual? I mean, nobody would know. Nobody fucking knows.
I was gonna be like, well, he's
well, right.
I'm so afraid.
Oh yeah,
for
but
Blue
you're
Beetle.
right. Yes, to a casual, who the fuck is that?
and they're like, yep, we're gonna unify our vision. Blue Beetle,
right?
Like what?
But you know what? Hey, the movie looks dope.
It does.
He kind of resembles like the Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it's a absolute smash at the box office.
It probably won't be.
Probably not.
But
fingers crossed, because
I would like to know what the budget for this movie is, because there's no way it's going to be like Flash levels of budget or.
What, Blue Beetle?
Yeah, I wonder what the final actual even after marketing.
It still has to be high because
production.
the villain. Pretty sure the villain they're rolling with is another Beetle, right? It's the red one.
Yeah,
they're not doing the black one. I don't think.
The rumors.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't seen it. Like, you can kind of catch it in the trailer, and it's theorized that it's the red one. But yeah, there's just like with the lanterns. Yes, there's just probably about one for every single color. So
I think for me, at least back in the day, I remember when this whole thing started off between the MCU and the DCEU. Because I remember back when you guys first started off, and you guys think your first $1 billion movie was Avengers, and I was like, that's cute. You needed your whole team to make a bill. We just needed Batman for The Dark Knight. I remember saying that back in the day.
Well.
Oh, how the times.
Yeah.
But I think also for DC, for better or for worse,
tables.
and maybe it just doesn't work in a connected universe sense, but I think with DCU and the reason why I'm a DCU comics guy anyway, so, but like their movies, what I like about them more is, for better or for worse, I feel like they take more artistic chances with their movies, like the Joker.
Oh yeah,
Marvel, and granted that wasn't in the connected universe, but still, like even with Man of Steel, that's such a different take than anybody ever wanted at the time for Superman. They wanted their Christopher Reeve Superman basically back again. Once again, we saw that. It was terrible.
Well, not at the time.
Brandon Routh? That was the continuation. That was your continuation of those
I thought
movies.
You meant like 1 and 2. I was like, well, no, those are good.
I'm not going to shit on them. I'm shitting on
Superman
the Brandon Returns.
Superman Returns. Yeah, that's terrible.
But it was a completely different take, and it, like Zach said, it was a different type of methodical take on the Superman character and the deconstructing him down. And everybody wanted Superman bright and shining and hopeful already. And it's like, no, I kind of liked how we had a Superman that was going to grow into that and become that. He never got to get there.
I thought it was cool
because of all the backlash and everything. And then, of course, yeah, you have studio meddling in the beginning. And when it came with BVS, it also came in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. And then, obviously, again in Justice League. And then, like, after that, it was just, I felt like it was over. Like, it was over after that. When Justice League dropped and I was just sitting in the theater, I was like, it's fucking over. Like, we've reduced down to, we literally got on our knees and we're
it's over, man.
Let's just try to become Marvel in. And it's like, no, you're not going to win by trying to become Marvel. You need to be different. And that's actually what worked. We may not have consistently, in the beginning, made as big of numbers as Marvel was doing, like, because it was viewed as basic. And granted, I get it. Batman v Superman should have been $1 billion movie. I get it. But it still made like $800 and some million. It made money. In the end of the day, it made money. But all anybody ever cared about was that it didn't make $1 billion. True, it should have. I get it. But it was just that everything pivoted from there. They changed the Suicide Squad up, made it more neon-y, and fuck it. But it wasn't.
And slap some neon on it.
That wasn't even James Gunn.
That's not this though. He's talking about the first one. That's bad.
Okay.
It's not. It's bad.
It's okay.
It's okay. I will say, really, the only thing in it that I just hate is the absolute cheesiness that they did with Enchantress.
Yeah, Enchantress was not supposed to be like that in the original cut.
Fuck no! Like, my God, it was cheesy.
Watch the Comic-Con first teaser trailer for the first Suicide Squad.
Okay.
And then look at the fucking movie. You can be like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Like, say what you want. Leto's Joker was supposed to be in it a lot more. I wish he was in it a lot more. Y'all can hate on it all you want. He reminds me of kind of like, not Zack Snyder, Scott Snyder's Joker a little bit. A little different take, but it's similar enough in other
That's
Jokers
the one that
I've
writes
read.
for DC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and...
Are they related?
No.
Oh, okay.
It'd be kind of crazy if they were, though.
But wish there was unified direction with all their characters. That's all I want.
And I guess I'll end this. Since we are still on Flash and how terrible it's doing right now. Hey, if you go on Fandango right now, you can buy a ticket and get one free because that's how desperate they are right now to sell tickets.
Man.
So, yeah.
That's tough.
That's
tough. Man.
I will hold a comment that I will just hold it. I will hold it.
Last bit. There was news that Warner Brothers is trying to sell off like half of its.
To the window, to the wall.